In this review of the indie platformer Candle Knight, we'll analyze the many appealing factors of the game and its issues, and decide if it's worth playing. Indie developer Drachma Studios describes the game as an action-adventure platformer that features a unique dynamic difficulty system. Candle Knight appears to be inspired by the Souls games and Hollow Knight. This review does not contain spoilers for the game's story and narrative. First of all, let's discuss the game's art style. I firmly believe that a good art style that fits a game's theme is far superior to realism. In many ways, Candle Knight is just that. The game is set in an atmospheric and cold-looking world, and candles are one of the only sources of light. The character has a helmet with a candle on top. As he moves around, he illuminates areas. The lighting from the candles in the game world manages to light up only a certain area, keeping the atmospheric and dark feel intact. Almost everywhere you look is shadowy, but it's not overly dark. Let's now talk a little bit about the perspective of the game and the backgrounds. While the game behaves as a platformer, the camera moves around as in a 3D game to give you perspectives that vary from just 2D. This 2.5D perspective is wonderful, and the world seems much more three-dimensional, literally and figuratively. And as you traverse this world, you will notice the beautiful backgrounds of the game that never get boring to look at. It can sometimes be a wall with artwork hung or a huge bookcase. While the sound effects themselves can be underwhelming at times, what I did find to be very well done is the music. It combines various instruments to create a soundtrack that adds to the mysteriousness of the world, while keeping the player entertained as they explore this odd place. One of the most beautiful things about the music is how it manages to create an atmosphere that's somewhat eerie, yet strangely welcoming. It's not very fast-paced, except for some combat sequences, nor is it overly scary. Overall, the soundtrack is very good. Now let's talk about platforming, as it's one of the most important aspects of the game. We should take the character's movement and speed into account when speaking about this subject. For now, let me say that the character's movement is a bit clunky. Sometimes it feels somewhat unpolished. Candle Knight's movement is simple. You can jump, run, dash, and block, among other minor actions. Running and jumping are what affect the platforming in that regard. Despite feeling clunky, the movement controls are rather responsive and allow for easy management. The combat is very simple. You can attack, block, and dash. However, the game is rather slow when it comes to introducing mechanics. For example, almost all melee combat-focused games allow you to dodge enemy attacks from the very start of the game. Candle Knight, however, introduces the dashing mechanic much later in the game. So in the beginning, you only have access to your sword and your shield. A simple combo can be performed with your sword. Your shield can block many enemy attacks, but not very effectively. Once dodging is introduced, it unfortunately proves to be more resourceful in platforming and exploration rather than in combat. It is somewhat unresponsive as well. For this reason, I use dashing only to get behind the enemy, and I rely on blocking almost always. Another unconventional method of defense is simply jumping away as a means to dodge the enemy attack. So overall, the combat needs a lot more polishing. But make no mistake, it's still quite fun to play. The world and level design is another aspect of Candle Knight that's very well executed. You are a tiny being in a huge world. You find yourself to be smaller than even books and other common items. This is a great niche, and I truly like it. With a lot of sections that need to be climbed and jumped on, the platforming levels are decently made. There are a lot of puzzles throughout the game that are fun to complete. By exploring the world with care, you can obtain many items that are hidden away. The world is thrilling to explore. It's quite satisfying to run around in all directions to seek many items and new things. By paying attention to the surroundings, you can create shortcuts that allow you to easily reach locations that were originally difficult to navigate. Overall, Candle Knight by Drachma Studios is a great game that any platformer fan might want to check out. There are some issues with the game, a few bugs here and there, and some performance issues. This game is far from perfect, but the developers have managed to create a great atmosphere and original features. I give Candle Knight a 4 out of 5. You can find the full review at GameFreaks365.com. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more reviews and other gaming content.